you wanted the best, you've got the best podcast. The hottest podcast in the world. The Chris Voss Show, the preeminent podcast with guests so smart you may experience serious brain bleed. The CEOs, authors, thought leaders, visionaries, and motivators. Get ready. Strap yourself in. Keep your hands, arms, and legs inside the vehicle at all times, because you're about to go on a monster education roller coaster with your brain. Now, here's your host, Chris Voss.
Hey folks, it's Voss here from thechrisvossshow.com. Ladies and gentlemen, that lady's trying to get her voice working this morning, so welcome to the big show. As always, the Chris Voss Show, the oldest living podcast in existence that still delivers 1 to 2 new shows a day. That's the caveat, folks, out of a handful of us oldies that are left. So please support us, because someday we may be the oldest living podcast in existence still publishing. Go to goodreads.com/Chris Voss. At least that's our dream. YouTube.com/Chris Voss. Facebook.com/Chris Voss. And all those crazy places. Yeah. Opinions expressed by guests on the podcast are solely their own and do not necessarily reflect the opinions of the host or the Chris Voss Show. Some guests of the show may be advertising on the podcast, but it is not an endorsement or review of any kind. Today's featured author comes to us from bookstolifemarketing.co.uk. With expert publishing to strategic marketing, they help authors reach their audience and maximize their book's success. Today, amazing young man on the show. He's joining us to tell us about his stories with his book called Stepping Stones to Personal Healing. A traditional physician goes beyond the limitations of his medical background and embraces the world of holistic health. Robert N. Koppen joins us on the show with us today, or Koppen. He's a doctor as well, if you might hear me call him that. And so he kind of knows what he's doing. He's been doing some of these things for a few years and been in the sticks. So he is a physician and author. For many years, he practiced medicine in the same traditional manner in which physicians are trained, diagnosing illness, treating symptoms. Creating symptoms,
yes.
Yeah, those side effects or whatever. And performing surgery when necessary. His career as an ear, nose, and throat specialist provided decades of clinical experience within the framework of modern medical science. These observations led me to explore a broader understanding of healing, one that considers the relationship between the mind, the body, and the deeper dimensions of personal well-being. Over time, he began observing patterns that conventional explanations alone could not fully address. Many recurring illnesses appeared connected not only to physical conditions, but also to emotional stress, lifestyle choices, and nutritional imbalances. Welcome to the show, Doctor. How are you, sir?
I'm good, and I'm happy to have this opportunity to share my journey from regular modern medicine, as it's still called. It doesn't feel so modern anymore to me, compared to the bigger picture.
Yeah,
I was trained in my ear, nose, and throat surgery training. I was taught very fast that only the Western medical approach has value. Things like Chinese medicine, acupuncture, and homeopathy, it is all based on fraud. Don't waste your time on it. And I believe that. And I also believed what I was told, that if a child has had tonsillitis twice in 1 year, it's probably better to help it and take those tonsils out.
Oh.
And so that was the teaching I absorbed. And looking back on that and what I've done with it, helps me to realize that hopefully I'm finished with paying off some karma in removing a lot of tonsils where there would have been other options.
Oh, wow.
Better for the children.
Yeah, most definitely. There's a lot of stuff out there. So let me clear a few things up. Give us your plugs, .coms, emails, websites. Where do you want people to find out more about you on the interwebs? As
I am now in my senior years, I don't have unlimited space to answer questions from anyone who wants to ask. I am comfortable with letting people know that I am on LinkedIn and that I can be reached with an email at gmail.com.
Now, give us a kind of more in-depth overview. The title of the book is called Stepping Stones to Personal Healing. Can you give us some depth on what the title means and what do you intend to communicate to people with that title?
Yeah, the stepping stones were my practicing of the teaching, putting to test the teaching that was 100 years old from the great American psychic Edgar Cayce, who said, spirit is the life, the mind is the builder, and the visible is the result. Simplified, he said, the body follows the mind.
Ah.
And that is such a profound truth that is still not recognized significantly. If we go back to the example of the child and the tonsillitis, what I wasn't taught, but what I discovered is this. Children are curious. They want to explore their world, touch everything, pick up everything, but the parents are often in situations where they say, no, don't go there, don't touch that, don't.
No, is what they learned first,
the
right? The
child gets frustrated, he gets angry, and when that is not resolved, anger puts our other nervous system that is not controlled by our will, other than our central nervous system that's ruled by the brain. We have our autonomous nervous system that is divided in two opposite factions. There's the sympathetic part, the fight or flight response driven by adrenaline, and there's the rest and digest mode that's supported by acetylcholine that puts us in a better space to sleep soundly or digest the big Thanksgiving dinner. However, many people spend way too much time in the fight or flight mode, and anger has a way to generate an inflammatory response.
Ah.
Not just mentally, but also physically.
Yeah.
So back to the child is angry, and anger has a way to affect one of the subtle energy systems that are not recognized well in the Western world, like the acupuncture meridians.
Yeah. Yeah, and it probably raises cortisol. I know stress and...
cortisol is the response to the fight or flight modality.
Yeah.
Which basically makes our body best able to run away from the tiger if we have time. But it is impossible to sleep or to have a proper digestion when the body is in predominantly fight or flight mode. And so that is an intensely under-recognized factor in digestive symptoms and in throat symptoms. Going back to the children with tonsillitis, in the chakra system, the throat chakra has an effect on all the physical structures in the neck and in the mouth and in the throat, favors an inflammation response. So basically the child is angry and it is punished in its perception by now suddenly having its tonsils taken out, which creates more anger, and it is a gross injustice. So I hope that after 57 years in the practice of medicine, I have cleared that karma of the first years that I did those things. For soon, when I discovered these connections, I basically stopped doing tonsillectomies and started looking for what is it that has put the child in predominantly the fight or flight modality.
There's a book in kind of a mentality that's called The Body Knows the Score.
Yes, I have that book.
And do you find that's applicable to some of the things we're talking about now, where people store in their body some of their traumas? Yeah,
it was written by a fellow Dutchman, Van der Kolk is his name. I was very happy to see that. I left Holland in 19 and transferred to the US. So there was a situation with my, at that time, second wife. It was from White Plains, New York. She didn't do well in the Dutch climate. She became ill with respiratory problems. And so since 1987, I've been here. And the book actually was created not with the idea I'm going to write this book, but I needed to introduce myself to the community here in Phoenix, Scottsdale, Arizona. And so I wrote a number of articles over my work, about my work, that were printed in local holistic newspapers that we had. It was in Arizona Light and Networking News. And so that built a reputation that gave me my clientele. But at some point, somebody asked, "Hey, I read this article from you that was I really like that. Do you have more of these?" I said, "Yeah." They said, "How many do you have?" I said, "I will look." And I looked and I said, "I have 30 of these articles." And they said, "Okay, you got a book."
That's a good deal. It's one way to get recognized. Yeah. You're smart. You put your knowledge out there.
That's I never sat down and said, "I am going to write this book." Suddenly it was there.
Yeah.
But an interesting feature is that it didn't attract a lot of attention for quite some time.
Yeah.
But
you have to market them.
The times are now more conducive to getting people excited about what it is offering.
Yeah. There's definitely a lot to holistic stuff, and not everything needs a pill and surgery. My mom had her gallbladder removed, and she suffers immensely because it causes different side effects. I think gastric issues and stuff. But she had it because it was giving her pain. I used to drink pretty heavily for about 20 years. I kind of had to do it because it takes a lot of booze to even give me a buzz. I have a high tolerance for everything. Yeah, I really do. Even pain pills, Tylenol. I have to take hundreds of everything just to get anything to work for me, which is what kept me out of hard drugs, because it would just get expensive trying to get high, and it's just annoying. It doesn't work, except for penicillin. Penicillin is like a miracle drug. I can be literally dead for 5 days, and you can re-alive me with penicillin. I don't know what it is with penicillin, but for some reason, that's my miracle drug. But so I was having immense gallbladder pain. Seriously, I felt like I was stabbed in the stomach, and this went on for a while. And they're like, "Yeah, you're probably gonna have to have that gallbladder taken out. It's really pissed off. Drinking doesn't help, but also I used to eat a lot of fatty foods too, go down to McDonald's and all that. I'm single, so I'd go out to eat all the time and eat the worst food back then. And I was like, almost 400 pounds. And so it was like, okay, we're going to have to take out your gallbladder. And I thought, my mom she goes through so much hell because she had her gallbladder out. And so I thought, if I don't have anything to lose, why don't I go try and holistically fix it, or try, right? What do I have to lose, right? So I I searched online what herbs or supplements are good for gallbladder issues. And I went down to the local store and I bought all the stuff, a bunch of holistic herbal stuff. And I started taking them, and it cleared up my gallbladder. And I've never needed to have removed. I've never had a problem since. So I didn't need surgery. I just needed something that would address the underlying issue of why I was so pissed off and get it to calm down a little bit. And I still kept drinking and eating shitty foods too. That was the weird thing. So whatever was going on with me was going on. So that's an example of where holistic stuff, and the body knows the score. We tend to keep trauma in different places. That's sometimes why acupuncture works and different things. But I'm glad you found that. What are your thoughts on that? Let me get you a chance to jump in.
Let me give you an idea of my current understanding of gallbladder issues. It would be so helpful if Western medical doctors would be required to learn about acupuncture meridians and chakras. There is a gallbladder meridian. There are 6 main pairs of meridians. There's liver, gallbladder, kidney, bladder. They're like twins, interactive. And every meridian is sensitive to a certain emotional energy that is likely to cause problems. For the liver, that is fresh anger. How dare you? For the gallbladder, it is old anger, bitterness. How could you do this to me? And over time, those energies can build, and they deprive the physical organ of the subtle energy that it requires for its functioning. It's great that there are drugs that help with that, but if we can identify the emotions that were the initial cause for the imbalance, for anger puts us in fight or flight mode.
Yeah. And
so then we can't relax, we cannot sleep as soundly or digest our food as effectively. So there are remedies that help a gallbladder, but even better if we can educate the person about beginning to monitor their habitual thoughts and intervene where that is clearly not productive, and maintaining a fight or flight response.
Yeah. It's interesting, all the different holistic things. And imagine you have some other examples of where you've helped people deal with some of these issues in a holistic manner instead of going under the knife.
Yeah. Yeah, but since ancient times, 400 before Christ, there was the Greek physician Hippocrates. His name is still known, but his main message was, first of all, don't harm your patients.
Ah.
And that is, I hear now people being talked into aggressive heart surgeries for issues that I sense are totally emotional. And that's a sad development that in 2,500 years we have not overcome. We have still not learned to listen to these warnings.
Yeah, it's interesting how that whole thing works. My dog was diagnosed several decades ago, I think in 2015, 16, with anal sac cancer, and it was growing on the back of her like a golf ball. You could watch it grow, which didn't help in dealing with it. It's one thing to know that someone you love has cancer. It's another thing to watch it growing and basically being this fester thing on their body. And so I took her in to be looked at, and the guy said to me, he goes, look, man, she's probably full of cancer. I put my finger in her behind, and I can feel nodules and polyps and stuff, or at least that's what he said. And he said, there's probably more on the inside. Listen, you got an old dog. I think she was like 14 at the time, or 15. And he said, you got an old dog. You don't want to do cancer treatment. This is not fair to this dog. It's just going to be misery. And he explained that. And he said, what I want you to do is go home, take 3 days, take lots of pictures, and get ready, right? And then bring her back in. And so I went home, just shell-shocked. We went from a healthy dog and everything was fine in our world to just nuclear devastation. Yeah. And so I sat down that night after I processed some of the grief and pain, and I thought, my dog has a death sentence in 3 days. Why don't I figure out if there's something I can do, if there's somebody that has more knowledge than me that I can help. And so I got on the internet and I started searching for people that had saved their dogs from cancer. And I found this one group that they had a rescue husky property that they owned and facility they owned. And they only took huskies that were in trouble with cancer, that the owners didn't want to deal with it. And so they put them on a raw diet, a high fat, no sugar diet. And at the time, my dog had stopped eating. And so the vets said, oh, this is what dogs do. When it's time to go, they stop eating and they go find a hole somewhere and pass away. And so I was like, what does she have to lose? And I remember calling the doctor and I said, I think in the next 3 days, I'm going to try this raw diet thing. He goes, oh, no, you can't. You're going to explode her kidneys with all that fat, and you're going to override her liver and toxify it. You're going to just kill the dog faster by feeding him a raw meat diet. And I was like, I got 3 days. Let's throw it against the wall, right? What do I have to lose? I have to lose her. So for 3 days, we gave her high-fat meat, the nasty shit that comes in those big tubes.
Yeah.
The ground hamburger. You just look at it and you just go, I'm not eating that. And we took away all the treats that were filled with sugar, and we put her on a high-fat diet, no sugar. And sure enough, as soon as I started cooking that hamburger, she would come running, and she would eat like a little pig. This was the dog had stopped eating, and she was drinking like a fish because the calcium was, of course, it had amped up the calcium in her blood, the cancer did, to destroy her organs. And so she started eating. And I called the doctor, and I go, I don't know about this, but I'm not going to bring her back in. I'm just going to see where this goes. And he's like, you're gonna, all the things. You're going to explode her kidneys. You're going to kill this dog and make it miserable by feeding it all that fat. And I was like, she's going to die anyway. So let's give it a few days and see what happens.
Yeah.
So 1.75 years later, she lived through hospice care, me taking care of her, feeding her every day, a high-fat diet, all raw meat. Sometimes I had to cook it, but all raw meat. I gave her as much as she wanted. She'd eat it like a pig. And at one point, we didn't see any growth in the cancer for about 6 months because we could see it on the outside. And I would take her into the doctors, and the doctors were aghast. They were like, how is she still alive? What are you doing? And I go, high-fat, raw, no sugar diet. And they go, this shouldn't work. I was like, no, you never heard of holistic shit. She went from 3 days death sentence to 1 year and 3/4. And really, it was her arthritis that killed her in the end. It came on really bad, probably combined with the cancer. And she was, the last 3 days, she was just collapsing, dragging herself in blood around the floor. And she called it for me. She came to me and gave me this thing like, I'm ready to go. I'm not doing this anymore. But that was an example of how I've done that. And I've used that same diet to save so many other dogs that they literally had kidney failure, liver failure, all sorts. They were like almost dead because so many of their body parts had failed. Yeah. And we put them on the raw diet and they came back and they lived, sometimes for years. And,
there could be another element, maybe not so much in your case, but I would like to add that.
Sure.
Yeah, dog food is so commercialized and so toxic nowadays. It really shortens the life expectancy. But if we look at the interrelationship between our physical body and the energy bodies around that, and the etheric body, emotional body, and dogs have that too. Yeah. There is also a chakra that rules and cares for all the physical structures from the hips down. Also, the root chakras are connecting with the earth, whether we have 2 legs or 4.
Oh, wow.
And we need to have a feeling of safety and security in our physical existence in order for everything at that level to work well. And often pets suffer from, their guardians cannot always be with them. And being alone or having an abandonment experience can diminish the energy available for the function of, that is, the anus and the rectum are part of the root chakra territory, along with the hips and the thighs and the knees and the legs and the feet. So that is another under-recognized territory. And I'm sure that with the extra love and attention you gave the dog, that also supported the feeling safe in her physical existence more than before.
Yeah. And she ate all the time. She'd come running for treats. And the doctors would just say, as long as she's running for treats, as long as she's running around the backyard. There were times where she seemed to be feeling sick and a little depressed and maybe under the weather. And she slept a lot. She was almost 17 when she passed. So she was a pretty old dog. You're right.
Beautiful age for that.
And like I say, I've used that diet for a multitude of other dogs that we've saved. And so I believe I totally agree with you that there should be the doctor should learn holistic as opposed to others. Because a lot of times, I'm not saying anything bad about doctors, but sometimes they'll give people something to fix one problem, and then the side effects from that medicine, you got to give them another medicine to fix that. And then that's got side effects for them.
It keeps going. And then, since in the 50s, antibiotics showed up, and then the vaccinations came up. And vaccinations have developed into a nightmare. Yeah. In so many ways. Autism in children is currently, I think in California, 1 in 20 newborns is somewhere in the autism spectrum, and it is an absolute nightmare for parents to have that. I have patients that have children that way. But what is not being made public is that the Amish community, with I think a little over 500,000 people following that lifestyle, they grow and prepare their own food. They don't eat out. And autism is and they don't vaccinate their children. Autism doesn't exist in their community. Think about it. where the modern medicine shoots hepatitis B vaccine in a baby that's 12 hours old.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it will take its very sensitive brain another full year to develop to the extent that it can handle that toxicity.
Yeah.
And what is hepatitis B? It's an illness that affects drug users that use dirty needles.
No.
There is no rhyme or reason to that schedule of currently 72 vaccinations for a child being born here and growing up. But I believe the current administration is working on that. But it's really the 11th hour for autism has gotten really out of control.
You talk about these things in your book, you expand on them and stuff, and talk about your journey of going from a normal medical background to holistic health. And what do you hope people come away with when they read your book? What do you hope that they learn?
I hope that they realize that their body does follow their mind. What we believe tends to become our experience. As Edgar Casey already said in those other words. So that actually brings hope. So they are not as helpless and depending on what their doctor's ideas are. If they don't like what goes on in their life, they need to look at what am I thinking and what can I do to change that. If I can change my belief, I can change my experience.
Yeah. Change your belief, change your experience. What the mind can believe, it can achieve. And it's interesting how a lot of people, they don't really understand that sometimes having a healthy mindset can make a huge difference in your health. Yeah. If you're carrying a lot of pain, you're carrying a lot of trauma, a lot of stuff eats at you, and it can eat at your health, I think.
Yeah. So the beginning of the healing of that is start watching your thoughts if you don't like your life. For the ego-driven thoughts, the ego doesn't like to be watched. It likes to execute its will unobserved. But it wants to drive your car. And I like to say, no, the ego needs to be lifted out of the driver's seat and put on the rear seat with a child restraint on. And we, with our applying our soul wisdom, need to drive that car. It's a silly analogy, but a lot of people get in trouble because they let their ego run their life.
Yeah.
Without observing it, without making any corrections, and just the ego really fears to be bored and to not have anything going on, and it will choose negative emotions and habitual thought patterns over not having anything to think about. Yeah. So self-observation is a key element in creating a better life for ourselves. Meditation, of course, part of that.
Meditation is really helpful. Yeah. Calming the mind, clearing the mind, taking control over the ego, as you mentioned, all that stuff.
Yes.
Yeah. Very good stuff there. Now, what about diet? Is diet an important factor that you see in a lot of this stuff?
Currently, yes, especially if we trust that what the food supply in the store, in the grocery stores that's being offered is safe. There was a time when that was the case, but there are so many processed foods with additives and preservatives, and there's a lot of toxicity that's sneaked in there, and that needs to be filtered out. And until that happens, I am at 83 years old, completely healthy. I don't take medications. I have not had any vaccinations since I was in medical school and was required to take a tuberculosis shot. And I know I could not have felt this good at age 83 if I had just trusted that what the stores are selling is safe to eat.
Yeah. There's a lot of stuff going on right now in 2026 where we have salmonella poisoning now and a bunch of different poisonings, especially for salads. Of all the things you need to have that. So, you need your salads.
But our current administration, RFK Jr., God bless him, he is trying to bring a positive change in allowing all the additives and the massive amounts of vaccinations.
Be interesting to see how that all turns out.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I have as much faith in him as you do. We've had the Kennedys on the show, so they don't speak very highly of him. So in your book, you talk about this holistic health. What are some steps people can take today to improve their health holistically, maybe sometimes for some of the pain or ailments they're having?
Yeah. Start reading labels. Stay away from preservatives and most of the seed oils, especially canola oil, which was originally a pesticide. It is still sold as a pesticide in Home Depot, but then at the next door, Costco, you can buy organic canola oil for your kitchen.
Yeah.
One of lots of examples. People need to bring awareness to what they should not accept as additives in food that they buy in the store, or buy organic foods and just make everything at home.
Yeah. I think I heard once that canola oil that originated from Canada, I think, wasn't it used in cars as an oil?
Maybe it can. The original name for it is rapeseed oil, but people didn't want that name for understandable reasons.
Yeah.
But even as with the name canola oil, is just as toxic. And it's unbelievable that it is accepted by the FDA as a food additive.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And of course, there's mercury, having other metals, cadmium. Yeah, way too many toxic ingredients in commercially presented food. So it's more expensive, but preparing more food yourself with clean ingredients will give a big positive boost to anyone's health level.
I totally agree with you. I used to, you heard my history, I used to be almost 400 pounds. I eat the worst garbage in the world. I drink 15 Mountain Dews a day back then, and I would drink half a bottle of vodka every night, usually mixed with a Mountain Dew. And sometimes I'm amazed I'm still alive. But over time, what I did was I lost 100 pounds by switching to eating salads, eating healthy food, getting away from the frozen garbage, the fast food garbage. And boy, has it changed my life. I gave up booze finally around 2021. And I love my life. And my body loves me. My body's like, hey, we really appreciate you, man. Yeah, and I have a local farm that I go to, and it's like 100-year-old farm, and they have a hydroponic system in there. So they can literally, even when it's snowing, they can still be making salads and vegetables and stuff. So I buy all my salads from there. And the salads are so beautiful. They look so green and luscious. You want to eat them, as opposed to those dead carcasses of lettuce they have at the store. And it's been life-changing. And just eating healthy, I go out for a burger every now and then. I'll splurge a little bit. But having that regimen and then lots of healthy protein shakes that I take to make sure I've got plenty of protein, my body loves me. We're getting along wonderful. I feel great. I feel better than I've ever felt. And of course, once I got on testosterone replacement therapy, I feel like I'm 20, 30 years old again. It's really...
That's really wonderful, yeah. And I think it's also helpful to notice that it's not so that we have to totally abstain from alcohol if we want to stay healthy.
Sure.
But for alcohol, I have a couple of glasses of wine after the work of the day is done, but I choose non-domestic wines because there are very little organic wines in the US, and most California wines are not organically grown. It means they have been eating glyphosate, and the plants have taken in glyphosate, which is another pesticide, which is banned in most other countries.
Yeah.
So it is easy to, in a safe space, by moderately drinking like Italian wines, Spanish wines, South American wines. That's a couple of glasses a day after the work. They have never hurt me.
So as we round out the show, give people a final pitch out to pick up your book and .com's emails, wherever they can know more.
Yeah, there's a website, drrobertkoppen.com, where they can read some more about me. And I am on linkedin.com with my name. And they can send an email to rnmd@gmail.com.
Mm-hmm. There you go.
It may take a while, but I will try to respond to them.
Thank you very much for coming to the show. And boy, you've given some enlightening stuff that I've actually used in my life to improve it and helped other people. And yeah, everything in moderation is fairly good for you, except for hard drugs, maybe. But,
I'm not promoting those. No,
yeah.
Away from.
But I did my 20 years with the booze, and I did it hard, and I had a lot of fun. What I can remember. But I just once I hit my 50s, my body said, you know, but fuck you. We're not doing this with you anymore. If you wanna look at a beer, we're gonna make you have a hangover for 3 days, and it's gonna be painful. You're gonna be bloated. You're gonna be dehydrated. We're gonna make it really uncomfortable. And finally, my body won. I just finally said, hey, man, half an hour, a couple hours on a Friday night to loosen up with some vodka is not worth the 3 days of misery. And I would just drag for 3 days. It was really not working for me.
Oh, yeah.
And it was really the best thing I could do. And if you can drink and you can handle it at any age, God bless you. I think I tried cramming all of it, and instead of pacing myself through life, I just crammed it all into 20 years. So I blew that one out pretty well, and I'm lucky I still have. I sometimes I just pinch myself and go, I can't believe how healthy I am. All right, well, thank you very much for coming to the show. We certainly appreciate it, Doctor.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a delight on my end. Yeah, let's hope that some more people can find benefits in reading my thoughts expressed in the book.
Hopefully they will. They better, or else we'll come back there. So folks, pick up his book wherever fine books are sold. It is entitled Stepping Stones to Personal Healing.
Yeah, it's sold through Amazon. Amazon KDP is the publisher.
There'll be a link for it on the Chris Voss Show to get to that Amazon link.
Yeah.
Stepping Stones to Personal Healing. A traditional physician goes beyond the limitations of his medical background and embraces the world of holistic health.
And it does help if they ask for the third edition, for there was a second edition that Amazon used to sell, but now they only have used copies of that, so that doesn't work.
All right, sounds good. People should look for the third edition.
Yeah.
And it looks like maybe the third edition has a different color.
Yes.
In the cover. Is that the one that's got the orange yellow top?
Yeah.
And you can see the stones on it there?
Yeah. And you can see that the photo of me was not taken yesterday.
Okay. All right then. Thank you very much for coming to the show. We really appreciate it, Robert.
I greatly enjoyed being on it.
And we enjoyed having you, sir. To my audience, be good to each other. Stay safe. We'll see you guys next.
You've been listening to the most amazing, intelligent podcast ever made to improve your brain and your life. Warning, consuming too much of the Chris Voss Show podcast can lead to people thinking you're smarter, younger, and irresistible sexy. Consume in regularly moderated amounts. Consult a doctor for any resulting brain bleed.